Pope Leo was selected to lead the Catholic Church and became the first American to hold the office. Now, the Pope is no longer somebody from a distant country. He grew up in Chicago, making him relatable to the average young American. The ascendancy of Pope Leo plays a part in the growing religious movement of Gen Z Americans, and in particular, Christianity. Now, he is a big reason, but there's more to the story. Because the truth is, religious affiliation in the Western world has been declining for decades, and Gen Z is the least religious generation alive today. Why is this generation turning to religion now? Well, we all know Gen Z struggles with mental health. It struggles with finding purpose in their lives, right? And one of the things religion claims is to provide a higher aim for your life. Now, I want to preface that this video is going to cover Gen Z Americans. With this group, the data supports growth in Christianity. Islam and other religions are rapidly growing across the world as well, but for the scope of this video, we're only going to cover Gen Z in the United States. So, what about the modern world has brought forth this growth in religion? The modern world has so much for you to consume and to look at. Did you know that YouTube produces over 500 hours of content every single minute, which is over 262 million hours a year? It goes without saying that there is too much content for us to consume, even if we were to live for 1,000 years. And since content doesn't come from just a few large major companies like it used to, but instead millions of individual people, the variety of content out in the world is literally infinite. But why is this an issue? Seriously. I mean, we get all this variety to choose from, and since there's so much stuff out there, everyone's got to have something they're bound to like, right? Yes, theoretically. The truth is, when people are presented with too many choices, it tends to become overwhelming. That's why lions have a surprisingly hard time hunting a large pack of zebras. The zebra stripes blend in together, and they don't allow the lion to lock on to one specific animal. Paradoxically, when there's only one zebra, the lion has a greater chance of success in their hunt. Yes, boundaries are limiting, but they provide much needed order. Gen Z is becoming overwhelmed by the gigantic quantity of content out there that it's completely disorienting us. And now more than ever, there is a desire for Gen Z to lock onto one thing that will provide stability. Something that's not just a trend for 3 weeks and then goes forever away into the abyss. TikTok is the pack of zebras, okay? Modern Christianity is the lone zebra, and Gen Z is the lion. Got it? Christianity, and even more so for this context, the Catholic Church, provides the much needed stability Gen Z craves. I mean, the Catholic Church literally traces its lineage back to Jesus Christ, and for over 2 millennia has remained more or less intact. Of course, it's had its ups and downs, but it's still kicking and remains very relevant in the world, all the while, and most importantly, keeping its core beliefs intact. Over the years, the church has absolutely changed and adapted to fit humanity, but it is substantially more traditional than progressive Western culture today. So it should come as no surprise that Gen Z is attracted to the tenets of Christianity. Pope Leo XIV. The new pope serves as one of the strongest catalysts for the renewed interest in Christianity. For thousands of years, the head of the Catholic Church was generally people from Europe. I mean, 50 of them came from what's called the Papal States, which don't even exist anymore. It wasn't even until the last pope, Pope Francis, that somebody from the Americas continent was elected pope. And now this pope, Pope Leo, is the first American to be the pope. In just that simple fact, he has instantly made the Catholic Church more comprehensible for Gen Z Americans. The dude's also super cool. He speaks 5 languages, he has an Instagram account, he's from the suburbs of Chicago, and he likes baseball just like any other normal guy. He made the church so much more relatable and appealing to normal people who might not be religious. And his election to pope came at the perfect time when the tide was turning for Gen Z to look for something stable. Now, moving on to a more serious subject, Gen Z does struggle with mental health related illness at a pretty high level. And anytime someone goes through a period of suffering, they always look for something to treat, explain, or rationalize their experience. This is a totally normal human process. So in response to the pain that Gen Z's feeling, why specifically would they turn to religion? Well, first of all, Christianity addresses suffering countless times throughout the scriptures in the Bible. A core of the faith itself is how to handle hardships. Out of all of the people in the Bible, it's Jesus Christ, the literal namesake of Christianity, who says that the purpose of it all is to reach people who are lost and hurting. He says that healthy people do not need a doctor, but instead sick people do. So the teachings of this religion are specifically aimed at people who need relief. And this aligns right into what Gen Z is experiencing right now. All throughout history, there's a trend for people to turn to religion in their hardest moments. And possibly no better example of this is on the Eastern Front in World War II between the Germans and the Soviets. And if you're unfamiliar, it is here where some of the most brutal battles of all of world history were fought. It's actually insane what happened on the Eastern Front. There's a famous Soviet writer named Vasily Grossman, and he wrote first-hand account of these battles. And he said that despite all of the carnage, in the most terrible hours, men remembered God. And what makes this even crazier is that the Soviet Union tore down Christianity in its country and replaced it with atheism. But during the worst of the war, Joseph Stalin decided to bring the church back temporarily to boost morale within the troops and people. Even the most anti-religious regime in the world at the time recognized the inherent condition in humans to turn towards something transcendent when life was horrible. Google Trends, they show that the question, is God real, skyrocketing within the past 5 years. Gen Z is facing growing mental health problems and especially loneliness, so it's natural we're seeing them turn to a source that can help address this. One of the strongest things pushing Gen Z to religion is the fact that we're growing up, and some of us are even having kids. Crazy, I know. I can't speak from experience because I have no kids, but my sister, who is a Gen Zer, described to me just how fast her priorities shifted when she had her first son. Literally in just one day, her whole world now revolved around this baby. Her priorities used to be having fun, living a good life, and generally being a good person. You know, just normal and good things. For anyone without kids, their life tends to focus on themselves. How can I make more friends? How can I get better at my career? And how can I advance what I want to advance? These are all great and important things. But with children, the spotlight of a parent's life shifts off themselves and onto somebody else. In other words, parents begin sacrificing their desires more and more to serve their children. And what do you know, sacrifice also happens to be one of the main tenets in Christianity. Now, I firmly believe that there are incredible parents who involve no religion in their lives or their children's, and that religion is not the only answer in successfully raising a child. I'd be incredibly ignorant to make that claim. I'm just making the claim that the biological shifts during parenthood align in close parallel with the teachings of Christianity. And that being true creates an environment where parents have a higher chance of leaning into those teachings. Christianity has gone through massive amounts of scrutiny throughout history, and yes, much of that was very well deserved, though by and large, the religion tends to produce results in the world that are beneficial and helpful to people. Some of the core teachings of Christianity are charity to the poor, practicing forgiveness, treating others how you want to be treated. A person may have no care about religion at all, and that's their prerogative. But for their children's lives, they want them to be the very best person they can be. And for that sake, many Gen Z parents are setting an example for their children to follow. They're going to church, they're getting involved in their communities, they're serving the people who are in need. And these parents wouldn't have the need to set an example if they didn't have any kids. And if you strip it all away, really, at the end of the day, parents want to involve their kids in institutions that teach kindness and goodness and other good traits. Gen Z's return to religion is fresh. As long as the current world's conditions stand, or even progress, we can be sure that people are going to react one way or the other. I'll see you next time.